All right, Reggie, before we get going into today's segment, is there anything that you want to speak on or talk about?
Um, yeah, right quick. Virgo season. Don't forget, y'all. Virgo gang. Shout out to you guys on your birthday season. And then there's a guy that, and I want just to throw this out to you guys. That's in the Bomb First community. That, and we know who be commenting in the sections and on the live streams and all of that. If you got something good going on in your life and you want us to shout it out, like a birthday, not a birthday, like a book deal, or you about to a big retirement or something like that, let us know. DM me, and we'll give you a shout out, because this is not just about me and John or Reggie or whatever. This is about the community, the Bomb First community. So there's a guy that was a moderator of ours by the name of D Block. This week we're going to show and talk about. He just retired from the military, or is about to retire from the military, and he got this nice plaque from his friends and the government. And he's been in the military, the Air Force, for over 20 years. And we just wanted to bring some attention to him and shout out D Block, a major 49er football fan, for any of you 49er fans. But other than that, John, let's get going. It's going to be a good week.
So, our favorite person, Choke No Joke, did another follow-up interview where he kind of threw out accusations, as he always does, with zero to no proof. So I wanted to quote a couple things from that, get your response, and address it, because I don't want people to think that we're shying away from anything he's saying. The first thing he said was that you told Greg that Southsiders did Biggie because they didn't get paid for Tupac, and his argument there is, how did Reggie know that there was a monetary exchange for the Tupac hit?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but it was on the streets of L.A. For anybody that don't know it, we had got word that that's what the retaliation that we thought, as y'all even learned, how Keefe D and them pushed up. And Keefe D had even said how he used to be going and trying to meet with Puffy and them when they went to the museum and asked him if they needed some security, and he told them he was hot and all of that. So I don't know. Guess because I know so much going on in the streets, and I know so much that's going on out here, and you don't. You new to this. You were snitching on your homeboy probably back during that time, or getting your ass beat over there later on. Well, eventually about to get your ass whooped by Damon Dash and Jay-Z and all of them, you know. And so, hey, Reggie knows shit, heard shit. But I did an article in the Vibe about it, y'all. Y'all won't look it up. I done told y'all about it several times in 1997, where I told y'all that I was wrong. I admit I was wrong. The situation with Biggie, it comes to time to believe, and I believe was not behind Southside. Uh, yeah, y'all know I believe Poochie theory, and that's what I believe. But hey, who cares? Ain't nothing gonna be done. Poochie's gone. Nothing's happening to anybody behind it. There's nothing that can happen. So, okay, investigator, snitch joke.
Okay. Moving on to some of the outlandish things that he said. He said that Keefe D and James went to you about the Tupac hit because you figured, you were mad that you got fired, and you said you might as well get this money since the hit is on, and that another good reason to do it would be that Sharitha would inherit the label and Snoop would be the number one artist again.
Okay, I guess that's just an opinion or whatever. Whoever thought if Sharitha wanted to inherit the label, all she had to do was divorce Suge Knight. She would have got half, 50%. They had no prenuptial agreement or anything.
And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I can't do this. So I didn't fight Suge over half of anything. I got out. So when I hear that I tried to kill Tupac and Suge to get death row, well, I didn't have to do anything to get death row. I had death row.
Okay. And you could have taken half of it if you wanted to. So the theory that you were with Suge for money,
that would have been the best choice of his life. That
Okay.
me having taken death row and everything I should have taken, that would have been the best thing that ever happened to Suge, because I would have took the masters along with me.
Yeah.
Because I knew somewhere down the line there were probably a chance that he was going to lose all of that.
As far as James being, James wasn't. We were cool. We knew each other, but we wasn't like that then to be bringing James involved in something like that. Bob Gotti was my guy then, back then. And who else? Buntry, 95, 96, people like that. Nobody was trying to do anything to Suge Knight back then to inherit a label. Sharitha, as y'all remember what in her interview, what Kenya said, how Sharitha was hysterical.
God, it was crazy because I had my cell phone and I made 2 calls. I remember I made one call. The first call was to Sharitha Knight, because people don't know that Arian, which is Suge's daughter, and one of my best friends, Sharitha, her daughter Arian had rolled down there with Suge and Pac. Arian was like maybe 3 years old at that point. And when I called Sharitha, she started screaming, "Was my daughter in the car? Was my daughter in the car?" And I'm like, no. Arian was not in the car. So she, was hysterical, getting ready to pack up and fly to Vegas.
When she heard that happened, that Suge had just got shot and all of that. What she was mainly worried about was her daughter. Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? So would she be involved, or want somebody doing something that she knew was going to happen to Suge Knight or Tupac, and have her daughter possibly? And I know she wouldn't be going to a nightclub with him, but nobody knew when that was going to happen, when he was going to drop Arian off at the hotel. If you know something like that's going on, you would keep your Arian can't go out there with you this weekend. She can't go out there and hang out with you. Y'all be like, well, why was Arian out there anyway? Why was she? Because the next day everybody was going. There was going to be a big party or reunion or something like that at Lake Mead out there, where everybody was going to ride the jet skis and stuff like that. Not saying that Arian would have been in the car with Suge, but trust me, a mother would have kept her child out there in L.A. if she thought or was a part of some bullshit like that happening.
Okay. The next thing he talks about is, he said that Suge Knight took Kevin Gaines to the desert, beat him up, and left him naked. Can you speak to that?
Yeah.
When you two started dating, obviously it wasn't public, as you mentioned that you and Suge weren't quote unquote together, but what was Suge's reaction when he found out about this? Was there any bad drama, or was everything in agreement?
No, Suge was not happy at all that he found out I was dating someone. Now, remind you, he had plenty of women, but Kevin was never around anything. Kevin's never been to anything, never no business, never no premieres, never any parties, never any events. But Suge had all his women at these events, but that was our agreement, and I kept our agreement. Kevin, I was my private, personal life. Suge was my professional life.
Okay.
So, no, they never got introduced to each other. Suge was devastated when he found out I, quote unquote, had a boyfriend.
Gotcha. How did he find out?
How did Suge?
You know I gotta ask.
One of our many stories. There was an event in Vegas that we all were at, not Kevin, but the Death Row family. And I had already planned for me and my family, along with Kevin, to come to Vegas. There was my uncle, there was my grandmother, there was my mother, me and Kevin. Well, they wasn't coming to Vegas until after, so I left Vegas for the event. Thought Suge was leaving from Vegas at this time, so I said, okay. So I flew back to California, drove back out to Vegas like the next day to be, this was my family planning this weekend. Well, I didn't know Suge didn't leave Vegas. If I would have known Suge didn't leave Vegas, I would have been in Vegas.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So we were at a hotel, and I don't really remember the hotel, but we were at a hotel, and we came out the hotel. We were standing there waiting for valet to bring the car. And here comes Suge and one of his homies. And I think I got speechless at the time because I would never I knew how Suge felt. Let me say that. I really knew how he felt. He still had feelings. I think he thought we were going to have an opportunity to be together when he stopped doing whatever he was going to do. And I had to once move on. I am human. I can't wait for you forever to grow up. I have to do something too. So the look on his face just hurt my heart because this is the first time I've ever seen him this hurt. And so he asked us for a ride. So the car comes along and we all get in the van. I'm like, okay, bye. And he said, well, can you give me a ride to such and such hotel? And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. So I ended up in the back seat. He was like, well, can you sit back here so I can talk to you? I'm like, oh goodness. So we get in the back seat. His friend sits in the doorway because we had a van, and he's back here talking, and I don't really want to say what we talked about because
of course. Yeah.
He was just devastated. He didn't know how to deal with it. Let me just say that. So his idea is to kidnap me. So his idea that he was going to kidnap me, and I'm like, everybody gets out of the van. And I'm still in the van trying to get him to get out of the van. And he jumps into the front seat and just takes off. And everybody else is standing on the curb like, what is going on? So I finally convinced him, stop. You got to stop this. And he stopped. He pulled over to Parker at my hotel, and I took off. And I hid from him so he can leave me alone. So I was like, okay, I'm going to hide from him because he lost his mind. I can't deal with him. So he ended up finding out, I guess because we're, quote unquote, married, he has right to know what rooms I have.
Oh,
and
I see.
So we were still legally married. So he had right to ask what rooms I had because he was looking for Kevin. He was looking for Kevin at this time.
Oh, no.
And he ended up in my grandmother's room.
Okay.
And he calls me on the phone and says, where are you? I'm in your grandmother's room. So you threatening my grandmother? And he was like, no, I'm going to get her some room service. We in here, we about to eat. So I knew what that meant. You better get over here because I ain't leaving your grandmother until you show up. So I ended up showing up. Long story short, I told everybody to go home. I said, y'all go home. I'm going to deal with Suge.
I mean, how much lack of fear, I guess you could say, does somebody like Kevin have to date you knowing that, Suge still has feelings for you, you guys are still legally married? Or did he just, because he was an officer, he didn't have that fear?
He was more afraid that he might have to shoot Suge than anything else.
Gotcha.
That's what if I have to determine his fear, because when Suge and his friend, because now you're thinking his friend is in the doorway, what are they trying to plan? So I could see Kevin takes his gun out of his holster and sit it on his lap. That was fear in itself. He did not at all want to have to defend himself.
Okay.
So as a man, it doesn't matter whether you're a police officer or a man, you're a human. You don't want to ever have to defend yourself from your girlfriend's father. And then you're the one that shot her father. Well, that wouldn't go very well even with me, whether me and Suge was together or not. If Kevin actually would have had to kill Suge or shot Suge or however, I wouldn't have ever continued to talk to Kevin.
Gotcha.
So it's a fear within itself. So yes, he was afraid that he had to make a decision that he didn't want to make. So fortunately, he didn't have to make that decision.
Yeah, I heard Sarita. Here's some audio of an interview, a live stream that we did back in the day with Sarita when she laughed about that. I'm telling y'all, if anything like that would have happened, And y'all believe anything about Kevin Gaines and them? Trust me, they would have been there, got them. They wouldn't have waited no 6 or 8 months to get no Suge Knight or whoever did something like that to them. Because that's how cops are. I don't care what type of cop they are. They are not going to go get stripped. So if they got stripped and left in the desert, who found them? Who found them, y'all? That's just some YouTubers, idiots on YouTube, that stupid, I hate even using the word because y'all get mad, but this old white YouTuber, Michael Carlin, that made that up. Nobody else has ever talked about that. None of Gaines' friends. None of his old cop buddies. Sharita told y'all what happened on that situation where they got in the car, in the backseat of the car at the hotel, and y'all just don't know how Sharita talked to Suge. Sharita was not the type of female that was scared of Suge motherfucking Knight. They had a crazy relationship as far as going back and forth with each other. It was almost like how you argue with your sister. That's how I always saw it. They were like brother. Y'all got to remember, Suge and Sharita have been dating each other since he was 16, she was 14. They've been knowing each other for a long time. It's probably why she tolerated so much from me during their relationship and then when they became estranged. But man, nobody has ever, trust me, that didn't happen. But this, I don't know because I wasn't there. But I know what Sharita said in her interview that y'all just heard. I know what cops would have did if some shit like that would have happened to one of their homeboys. But I know y'all say, well, that's why they did it. All right. Well, then why Keefe D sitting in jail, y'all? Why Keefe D is up there telling these stories that he's been telling? Come on, y'all. Y'all can't have it both ways just because y'all don't like somebody and y'all want to put something on somebody when all the facts are right in front of y'all. So now the DA, a new district attorney, and all of them are putting their reputations on the line for Reggie motherfucking Wright. Oh, man, the shit y'all believe.
Okay. And then he broke out his phone and played some audio of a phone call between you and Sharita where you were asking her about a check, if Kevin Gaines ever got a check from Death Row. And she said, quote unquote, that's a whole other thing. Or talking about something else, that's a whole other thing. Can you speak to that part or what that was about?
Oh, yeah. Everybody know what that was about. When it was the Biggie shit. It's all in the book. Greg Katie's done talked about it. Where I done admitted that, that I believe the money came from Sharita for the alleged hit. And how it came and all of that. Y'all know about it, anybody that know it. But that's all we talking about. We ain't going to talk about that. We ain't going to talk about that money. Greg Katie's put it out. He put it in the book. For those of y'all don't know, go research it and find out what was said. But that's all that is. But nobody know Kevin Gaines. I have never met Kevin Gaines, seen Kevin Gaines before in my motherfucking life. And my whole point, if you listen to the conversation, I was pretty much saying, man, what the fuck, Sharita? You gave him a check? You had a check cut out to Kevin Gaines for $10,000? That's because RJ and Tanique and all of them was pushing that they got a check and saying that. And Sharita's like, Reggie, come on. Why would I be hiding somebody and then leaving a paper trail, cutting checks to them? Sharita, she would have had a fucking holy nut case if she knew who she was fucking. He didn't care about who she was fucking out in publicly and all of that. But Suge was still the type of man that was like, no, shit, you still my wife? Even though I'm doing the shit I'm doing, you still my wife. And so that's why she had to fuck with a nigga that was, not scared of no gang members or whatever. And who was that? A cop. And so that's why she probably started dating him. Because he was probably the only one was like, fuck that nigga. I ain't scared of him. Okay, that's Suge Knight. Fuck it. That's the mentality of a cop. And so that's why the only nigga she probably could date and stuff like that during that time period. Because most niggas didn't want that drama. Would you have messed with her? Knowing that the reputation that Suge had during that time? And the crew that he had? I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have.
Okay, the next thing he goes into is he brings up David Mack and Rafael Perez getting in trouble and saying, how come they never brought up your name, Reggie? Why would they? You were the lowest person on the totem pole at that time. That's why they didn't bring up your name.
Well, that's who usually gets snitched on first. Yeah, the lower. Yeah. See, you want to kind of downplay. 1 minute you want to make like I'm this tough guy and this order shot calling and ordering all you hit. Then the next minute when it don't make sense, oh you the peon. That's why they ain't never meant. Make up your mind, though. Which one is it? Either I'm a tough guy or I'm a peon. Which one is it? Well, okay. But think about what was out there in 97, 98 and all that when that Rampart stuff was going on. The biggest case for any LAPD would have been to solve the Biggie Small murder investigation. Right? Shit. If a DA would have known that they could have got Reggie Wright and Suge Knight on a fucking murder case versus some guns, some Mexican drug dealers or some black gang members getting dope cases and gun cases overturned. But this big old high profile case, shit, and all we about to give him is 6 or 7 years? Hey man, okay, that's cool. We got those 70 cases overturned. But that one big one, that murder case, those guys, Reggie Wright and Suge Knight, you tell us that one, you won't have to do 6 or 7 years, Raphael. Oh, no, they too tough. I ain't snitching on them. Y'all think that's what Raphael said? All right. Hey, David Mack, you got like 7 or 8 years left on that, on this case, on this 14-year sentence you and the feds doing time for, man. You come home right now. All we need to know is Reggie and Suge, or Reggie or Suge hired you. And you can walk out right now. Y'all don't think they would have did that? These are cops. Y'all remember? Snitches, rats. Have y'all ever once heard them mention my name ever in life? Or Suge? No, because they didn't know us. They couldn't prove any way of knowing us. But all you YouTuber experts, all the documentaries, oh yeah, they were friends. They knew each other. Where? How? They got skip trace. They got all that type of stuff to find out if niggas was talking to each other on the phones and all of that. Even to meet up, you got to call and say, hey, David, meet me at Melrose. Meet me somewhere. Got to have at least a 30-second phone call, just that. You don't think they checked all that? But hey, you don't think they would have gave up all of that to get out of jail from doing time, y'all? All right. But he snitched on 70 other cops, but he wouldn't snitch on Reggie and Suge. Oh, wow. All right. Okay.
It should be noted, too, that when he did snitch on 70 other police officers, some of the things that he testified to were as small as officers consuming alcohol while on duty.
So they was snitching on everything. But there was also some gun cases, and there was one that was even a shooting where one cop planted a gun or something like that on a guy that got shot and paralyzed. And they showed how that particular person, got put in a wheelchair and was in prison doing time and all of that because they planted a gun on him. So these dudes were telling everything.
that's correct. It looks like the guy who they framed was Javier Ovando, which was the one that they shot and then framed. And then another big thing that he did was stole and resold at least $800,000 worth of cocaine from evidence lockers. So,
But they ain't gonna tell on Reggie and Shug. All right. All right.
all right. The next thing he goes into is saying, Reggie's really big on stating that Miss Wallace believes Greg Kidding's findings in murder rap. But he goes on to say, "Come on, you can't really say that because she's not a street person. She's not street smart." What are your thoughts on that?
Well, she has an attorney though. Attorney usually the one that advises you whether something is true or what's not. Now you have the ultimate say. Well, I'm going to pursue this. I'm going to continue to pursue this or not, for whatever reason. But for Miss Wallace to go ahead and just, she did get $1 million judgment for law fees, which the lawyer, she's got the money that she gave the attorney back on that because they had to start the case over. The case didn't just get kicked out. They just had to start all over. And they said, okay, because Greg Cadiz did what they did, or Katz or whoever did what they did, here's the $1 million for fees that you paid. Now y'all got to go and try to prove your case again. And so she had the money again. She had the attorney, Perry Sanders. But they went and showed him all the evidence, showed him all the statements, showed him what they were dealing with. And he was like, hey, Miss Wallace, I think we gotta, we beating up the wrong tree. I don't think we should pursue this anymore. I think this is what really happened. And that convinced a mother. She may not be street. She was a school teacher. But she ain't no motherfucking dummy. Y'all listen to that lady. That lady she loved Biggie Small or Notorious B.I.G. or Christopher Wallace, whatever name y'all want to call him. She loved him. And a mother, a woman, they're going to fight for justice if there's a chance, if they don't feel that the case been solved. She is not the type of mother. She is not Faith Evans. That's just going to be, all right, let me have the money. She is not Faith Evans. That's a mama. A strong, she was a strong lady. And y'all can tell. Y'all know it. So to say that she's just going to drop the case because whatever, because she don't have the money to fight it? Oh, she had the money to fight it. No, because they came, they presented all the evidence to her, and she realized that this guy, Russell Poole, is an idiot, a drunk, and this is what really happened. But more importantly, that attorney was convinced. Because trust me, he was the one that kept telling her and advising her. But crack, no joke, knows best. He knows. What Damon Dash said he was doing? Running down the street, running away every chance. Every chance. Every time they had an encounter. That's all he knowing for, is being a bitch and running down the street when niggas trying to take their camera and footage. What did his other homeboy say? He got on the stand and testified against him. This is the nigga y'all got me up here arguing with. A confirmed bitch and a confirmed rat.
All right, the next thing he goes into, Reggie, is he says that the story about paying Orlando Anderson $60,000 was a lie and that Orlando Anderson was at the hospital at the time of the shooting.
Yeah. Well, only thing I can say on that is Orlando Anderson sued the Tupac estate. And nowhere does mention that he went to the hospital and he had these particular damages done, and he seek medical treatment for these damages. That's law 101. First thing the attorney would have put in a lawsuit. My client suffering from this, and he seek medical treatment at this location. The DA on the Tupac case now has personally told me that there's no evidence, nowhere that Orlando went to the hospital that particular night. Okay. The $60,000 part. Well, okay. Suge actually didn't pay him. He didn't pay. He had Norris Anderson and Reggie Wright take the money down there. Or the check. It probably was a check. It was a check. And give to the attorney. For him to come to court and testify. Y'all look at the dates of the lawsuit. So he's still sued. Orlando and them still sued. But he came to court to testify. So this gang member gonna come to court to testify for Suge and say that Suge saved his life and all of that, and Suge was his savior and all of that.
But when the beating victim Orlando Anderson took the stand, he testified Knight tried to stop the beating. Again, we cannot show you Anderson on the stand.
I seen him standing right there helping. He was about the only one.
He was helping you, is that correct?
Yes.
Las Vegas Metro Homicide Detective Brent Becker later took the stand and testified Anderson had a much different story when he interviewed him in October.
He made the comment that Tupac and Knight beat him up pretty good. And
He specifically said
he used the first name Tupac and the last name Knight.
Anderson was arrested last month in a sweep of Compton gangsters. Las Vegas homicide cops are still investigating possible links between Anderson's beating and the shooting death of rapper Tupac Shakur on the Vegas Strip later that night.
That's what the type of story y'all want to believe that Orlando going to do for sure. Okay, all right, y'all right. Keep listening to the snitch. Keep listening. KVD told y'all the story before I have told y'all the story way before that. KVD came on there and confirmed it. Y'all was like, yeah, because you and KVD on the same page, y'all. Or maybe just because it's the truth. I'm not one. I know y'all figure you catch a person in one lie, everything else they say is a lie. I'm not one to say that. I say people are liar, people lie, but there's also be some truth to something. With Gene Deal, I say he lied, he embellished situations and all of that, but I don't say everything that he says is a lie. But that's how y'all do on YouTube. I guess that's what y'all do, but I'm not one to ever say that everything a person says is a lie. I just think y'all got to be able to determine which part is a lie, which part isn't a lie. And that's where your radars or your antennas need to go up.
All right. Near the end of his interview, he seems to stutter and have a problem really tying this thing together. But a couple more things he does say, and then we'll move on. But he says that he believes that Diddy and Jimmy Henchman worked together to put the hit on both Tupac and Biggie, and that it was over Biggie's publishing.
Yeah. He gets that from Gene. Gene talks about that a lot. Everything he gets from off the YouTube, and he just put it all together and put his spin on it and all of that, which is crazy to me. But I don't know. How can I say? What can I say? I have always heard it was Jimmy showing Puffy that I'm the man. This guy Tupac ain't all that tough, or whoever was protecting Tupac at the time. If it was Asian Jack or whoever, they ain't all that tough. That I'm the man, and you watch what I'm about to do. He trying to teach Andre Harrell and Puffy a lesson. Is how I took it. And because Tupac had allegedly disrespected Jimmy Hitchman over the phone, and so he was like, okay, I got to show this little nigga, got to teach him a lesson. That's what I believe that happened. just glad to see that a lot of people are confirming some of the things that I had said before in the past. That everybody in the comment section was like, "Oh, that didn't happen. That didn't happen." When I said he accidentally shot himself in the Groins area, I've heard 2 or 3 interviews recently that has pretty much said that. But everything Reggie says is a lie. But it seems like every time Reggie says something, y'all hear about it later. It end up coming up as turning out to be, damn, we did hear that first. But then everybody always forget where they heard it first from. Because when I said it was a lie, now other people saying it, then, oh yeah, that did happen. Yep.
All right, and then last but not least, he tries real hard to try to tie you into it at the end because first he says that that Diddy and Jimmy Hinchman were the ones behind all this. But then he goes on to say, but Reggie orchestrated both the murders because he's the quote-unquote self-labeled orchestrator, that you don't get your hands dirty.
Yeah. I've always said that. I believe that Jill and all of that is for fighting and stuff like that is for Jill and all of that. But I don't. I have never been the type of guy that go and put any type of work. Will never get no car and do nothing. I'm a reactor. I'm one that with you and that's going to react to things that happens. But yeah, I don't believe in being spontaneous at all. And so that's what I mean when I say I will orchestrate something. If I want somebody to get slapped or something like that, we're going to put a plan together. You'll never get me being emotional like a bitch and spontaneous and taking penitentiary chances. No. You probably can slap me. And I always said, you slap me, you might get away with slapping me right then. But trust me, you're going to pay for that slap one day. And that's what I mean by that. So, yeah.
Okay. Before we finish discussing the whole choke no joke stuff, is there anything you want to end on? Because he claims he's not going to talk about you anymore. That this is the last time he's gonna speak on you.
Okay. I bet you by October, not October, fuck that. September the 22nd, he will have my name in his mouth somehow. But the only thing is, y'all, and this is what y'all got to really ask yourself. And this is all y'all need to do. On the Biggie Small, why would, if y'all believe the LAPD stuff, I don't believe it, but if y'all believe the crooked cop stuff, why would those cops sit in jail and do prison time when they could have got a free pass by laying out Reggie and Shug? Okay. 6, 7 years ain't nothing. They didn't care to do that little 14 years that David Mack had to do, and I think Rafael Perez did 6, 7 years or whatever. That wasn't shit to them. Okay. All right. Let me ask y'all this. Why would Keefe D be sitting in prison? Y'all done heard me arguing back and forth with this dude, calling him, talking about his wife was bent over, grabbing her ankles and shit like that by my homeboy Buntree and all of that. When, y'all done heard me say all of this stuff about him. How he's a smoker, a crack kid, and all of this shit. I just recently said nigga look like he about to have a baby while he's in prison and all of that shit. Shows y'all a picture of that nigga looking like he about to have a baby. I throw every jab I can at that brother. Now I do have a heart. I do. I'll be honest. When I saw that nigga standing in court begging and telling him he about to die from cancer and all of that shit, and he's sick and all of that, I did kind of feel bad. I'll be honest. That's just me. I'm a salty. My bite. My dad always tell me, or your bark is bigger than your bite. He always tell me that. Your bark is bigger than your bite. But my whole point will be, why would Keefe D be sitting in jail and doing all of that time and all that? And he never has once to say, hey. It was Reggie and Suge that orchestrated all this, or it was Reggie that orchestrated this, and David Mack and Rafael Perez. I'm just a pawn. I'm just there. I'm just a pawn, man. I'm dying from this cancer. Hey, Reggie, I got to do a fucking a GoFund page, or something similar to a GoFund page to raise bail, man. You better put some money on there to bail me out. Because trust me, if I knew a nigga like that had something and he was my pawn and all of that, it wouldn't be no fucking attorney like the one he got that would be representing him. I wouldn't be clowning that crackhead, toothless, pregnant, infected motherfucker like I do. If the nigga had any dirt on me, I would never mention his name. Peace, one first.